matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
Yeah, folks, it doesn't seem that it's just blinding the world from the truth. It seems to be blinding a lot of Christians from the truth, too. You got Opposing the Matrix here, Jim and Dave. It's Saturday, the 26th of September, which is kind of an important date because I guess you could call it an afterglow. And we're not glowing that people are wrong and that people were... actually, it is kind of funny, though. So many different prophecies were hinged on something happening on the 23rd of this month because it was the beginning of Yom Kippur. And it's funny how, the church writes off Israel as being nothing anymore, as being written off by God. But, when it comes to God's timetable, Israel seems to be the guiding factor. And it's funny, they talk about these blood moons, but, on the blood moons, things happen to Israel. They don't happen anywhere overseas for the most part, So you got all these things that pertain to Israel, yet Israel is inconsequential, supposedly, when it comes to prophecy anymore, especially when it comes to the church. Israel is written off and is no more. But, hey, I got news for you. God has not forgotten Israel. Jim and I were both talking, and we were looking at some of these prophecies that were out there, and it's been quite interesting, folks. It really has. And is somebody beating a drum?
No, it's me.
Oh, okay.
That's my secret way of letting you know I'm back.
Oh, okay. So, hi, Jim. How are you?
Doing fine. It's the same as it ever was. I'm feeling great, as a matter of fact. It's the end of the world, and I feel fine.
Yeah, as we know it.
Yes.
And, folks, Jim and I have been talking about this for quite a while because it's no different than the year 1000 when they thought, hey, it was 1,000 years since the birth of Jesus, and, the world's going to end, so we're going to go ahead and get ready for Jesus to come back. Well, 1001 came, 1002 came, no Jesus, and but people have a sense of urgency to want the return of Jesus, and it's kind of a double-edged sword because so many of the people that are wanting this, I'm not saying everybody, but so many of the people that are wanting this aren't living their lives like Jesus would want them to live their lives. So if he came back today or tomorrow or even the day after tomorrow, are you definitely going? Because you're not living like he wants you to live. And, you might be joining, all those Jews that you say are going to be going through the Jacob's trouble and the Great Tribulation. You might be one of the Christians that gets left behind, But anyway, Jim, I just want to read through this list real quick, and I know you probably have a list too, and then let's talk about some of these things, okay? Man, you can go anywhere on the internet and type in prophecy September 2015, and some of the things that come up are totally amazing, if not so ludicrous that part of you wants to laugh and part of you wants to vomit, and you can understand why God told the church of Laodicea that he was ready to vomit them from his mouth because they were neither hot or cold. But this, I think, maybe he would include because they're false prophets. But now, I'm not saying Jonathan Cahn is a false prophet. For some reason, I kind of think that maybe he's got something, and but if he actually came out and said, and so many sources have said he said this, that there will be a financial crash on 9/13. I looked at the calendar. 9/13 was a Sunday, and he was talking about the United States too, as far as I know. And okay, there's going to be a stock market crash on Sunday. Well, the last time I looked, Jim, and for my whole life, the stock market's closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So
wait, Monday. We're closed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put off the disaster till Monday because we're closed. Well, anyway, it's what is it today, Jim? It's 9:26. It's 13 days after that. Oh, that's something. 13 days, Jim. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow.
It's got a blood moon. It's a tomorrow.
Can we say blood moon anymore? Is that still politically correct? Anyway,
I know it.
Okay, another one. September 23rd. This was funny. An asteroid is supposed to hit in the Atlantic Ocean, and a tsunami is supposed to result, and it's going to flood, and Jesus is going to return on the 23rd to save us. Okay.
Now, wait a minute now. The one I heard, it was a comet.
Okay.
And it was going to hit Costa Rica and cause a tsunami. So,
Oh, okay. Well,
I guess that was a little more accurate. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there. Some say meteor, some say comet. Is that? I don't know.
There was another one, Jim, that I read that a comet is, that a meteor is supposed to split into three parts. That it's supposed to hit Thunder Bay, Canada, Lourdes, France, and the Gobi Desert.
And it's Father, Son, Holy Ghost, or Larry, Moe, and Curly. One
the galactic trinity of the meteor world. So, I'm sorry, folks, if it seems like we're making fun of this, but after hearing all this gloom and doom for all,
you just gotta laugh, man. That's all you can do with this stuff,
You do. And here's another one, Jim. CERN is supposed to start up and release the demonic hordes. Well, there's a possibility that could happen, and we've talked about that.
Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it was going to happen on the 23rd. The fourth blue moon is blood moon.
Red.
We have red, blue, green, whatever.
Blue blood. It was a blue blood moon. Royalty.
The fourth blood moon is actually Sunday night, tomorrow night, and as I said earlier, all blood moons affect Israel. What happens to Israel? I mean, like back in '67, it was the Six-Day War. I think another one was in '73. That's when the Jews took back Jerusalem, and stuff. So it's, if you're looking for changes in Israel, yes, maybe the blood moons have something to do with it, but not necessarily changes in the United States or Europe. Those are coming much slower, and both places are probably not going to be the way they were very much longer. But
to be fair to Jonathan Cahn, I like the way he presented all of his information. He's so greatly distorted by so many others.
Mm-hmm.
He went and he said, look, maybe there'll be nothing identifiable happening on those days. It may be something invisible, an agreement, a handshake, something that is going to lead to something that will impact Israel or, the events around it. So in all fairness to him, I think he's presenting the things with the way you and I would present it, Dave. He's trying to be as transparent and as honest as possible. And I don't see him really building up any sensational kind of thing like, I think that's what others are doing, taking off with his stuff. And in response to that, that's why he had made a recent video explaining that. Now, if nothing happens, by golly, if he doesn't get on the air and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong, then my ears are deaf completely to anything he ever says from that point on.
Right.
See, now some of these people, if they will not accept responsibility for their own actions and get on there and just start trying to backpedal or, well, it was sort of like this. It wasn't, then God resists the proud and gives grace to the humble. I think the church, it's about time that the church starts raising the standard of behavior. We need to demand better from the people that call themselves a watchman. And
exactly.
On the internet that are little babies. And babies, I mean, they're not false prophets, they're not wolves in sheep's clothing. They're a bunch of unteachable, unlearned, stiff-necked, bull-headed kids that think they know everything and can't be taught and won't be taught by their elders. And so they got all these things figured out, and they start speaking out carelessly, foolishly, before they've had the patience to, let their prophetic gift mature. And so because of that, that's why we get all this weird stuff. I mean, there was one of the things that was supposed to happen was the Pope and Obama, when they got together, were going to finally announce disclosure, that they were in contact with aliens and working with them, or they're coming back to help, or whatever. They were basically going to bring forth disclosure. What was their foundation for this? Because the pilot movie of Roswell mentioned 9/23. Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Yet, that's the downside to the internet is that any crackpot, any kid can get on there and say anything, and nobody knows who that person is. and so they have a certain amount of credibility, just because especially if they can articulate themselves pretty well. There's enough gullible people out there to go, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense, yeah. And it's just, you have everybody put on the same level. There was a time and a day when, through the church structure, you had to, I guess you would say, a rite of passage. You had to earn your audience by accuracy, by maturity, by balance, by being level-headed. You had to prove yourself before you could be given the opportunity to share what you have with an audience. And it came as led of the Holy Spirit. Well, on the internet, there's no way to do that, or at least we haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Yeah, well, there's no stupid meter on the internet.
Well,
Facebook,
right,
and
so it's just a shame. It's an uncontrolled, chaotic mess. So I think that's why what happened, as I had warned before, that this may be nothing more than a judgment begins first at the house of God. We are not in order. We are not doing things the right way. So the Lord knows this, so he's purposely, deliberately allowed people to find all these bunny trails that go nowhere. And now they got eggs on their face. They're omelet head prophets. And so now they have to deal with it. Now, what does the church do? Do we do what we've continued to do, especially with some of the big-name celebrity rock star prophecy teachers and conspiracy disseminators? Are we to just forgive them and then just look forward to the next exciting non-event that's going to happen and get all wrapped up in it? I mean, some of these people,
you never know.
They act like junkies.
For sure, huh?
Conspiracy freaks or they're prophecy freaks. They want their next fix. We've had people actually come to us and say, well, when are you going to have more about the Nephilim? What's the latest, greatest on the Nephilim? Well, you know what? I've said everything that I know about the Nephilim until they land on a White House lawn. I guess there's not much more I can tell you.
Exactly. And Jim, it's borderline ridiculous. You and I were reading this list before we went on the air, and folks, forgive me if I laugh at this, but I got to tell you, I've been duped before too. Okay, back in 1988, there was this Schlemiel that wrote this. Actually, wrote it in '87, but he wrote a book, 88 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Be in 1988, and I believed that thing. I mean, I read it, and he was quite convincing, to a baby Christian, because back then I was probably about 8 years old in my faith, but. I read that, and what really straightened me out, Jim, is I sent that book to my uncle who wasn't a believer, and when the date in 1988 had passed, he called me up. My uncle hardly ever calls me up, but he called me up and he said, we're still here, kind of in a mocking fashion, and I learned, I'm like, what, I'm never going to set dates or believe anybody that sets dates again, but one of the things, Jim, that we were reading, I was, we were going back and forth, and this one was probably the biggest hoot that there was. That the rapture will happen, followed by earthquakes that will cause ancient archaeological artifacts to be revealed, and they will cause the Jews to accept Jesus, and all other religions will be nullified, causing panic, which will cause chaos in the foundation of a one-world religion. And I'm like, oh my goodness, boy, is that one package all wrapped in one whole package wrapped up, wasn't it? Huh? Now, Jim, we talked about the asteroid hitting the Atlantic and causing a tsunami, and so on top of that, it's not the same person, I think, but there's an addendum to that says the Pope and Obama will be in Washington D.C. For the reason for the comet that's going to hit the Atlantic. It's just going to hit the Atlantic because the Pope and Obama are going to be in Washington, evidently, and they will be killed by the tidal wave. That's hopeful thinking, but it's not going to happen. What about, Jim, the U.S. General Assembly meets to divide Israel, bringing judgment on the U.S. and the world? Well, you know what? We're under judgment already, and if the UN does something,